So you want to know about mobility training? Well, in today's video, we're going to take you through our 4 key stretches and mobility benchmarks. All that and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister, that's my brother Yanni Burmeister, and we're the co-founders of Unity Gym and the co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we teach you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. And today we're talking about all things mobility. We're actually going to break down why the main movements that we work on in our mobility masterclass are the middle splits, the pancake, the front splits, and the back bridge. So let's get into it, huh?
Absolutely. We've also got a big mistake that people make that we're going to leave till the end, which is really important to understand because it will fundamentally affect your performance, especially in the gym. If you're into calisthenics, it will be a complete roadblock for your progress and development. So I'm excited to talk about that. But first of all, we want to talk about the key insight of today's video, which is true strength cannot be achieved in the absence of mobility. And we believe this so strongly that we've got it printed on our wall for everybody to see right above our exotic dumbbells. And, let's just start off with that. Let's dissect what that means. We were talking about this before.
Yeah, for sure. So we should clarify what we define as true strength is your ability to control your body in and out of the gym. So we don't believe that true strength is something that you can only express in the gym. Example, lifting weights, to be able to say to you, I'm really strong, come to the gym with me and I'll show you how strong I am. That's an aspect of it, absolutely. But this is our belief. We're not saying this is what it is, but what we believe true strength is the ability to express your strength inside the gym, but also outside, doing things like calisthenics and gymnastics movements. And for that, you absolutely need mobility for true strength, for everything. And we've got friends who are absolute weapons at calisthenics. Some of the guys down at Bondi Beach, the Bondi Bar brutes, they call them, the bar brutes, who are just machines on those bars, the calisthenics movements they do. And then I've had some of those guys that are friends of ours comment on some of our videos saying, oh man, I so badly want to be able to do that move, but I'm just not flexible enough for it. Yep. And so it really is absolutely important for true strength.
Yeah, that's right. You can get so far. You can get muscle ups, you can get levers, you can get things like that on the bars.
You can get squats,
and
deadlifts, bench presses.
But, I'd argue that you can't squat unless you're highly mobile. People can force a squat, but man, the damage that's done on the joint level is just horrendous. So I would argue that squatting is one that is a benchmark. But so we sort of know why we are really passionate about developing a balance between strength and flexibility. We've spoken about the fact that on a joint agonist-antagonist muscle system, when you've got one side that's like tight or a length tension issue, the other side isn't, you've got an unstable joint. Your joint is sort of unable to move through its true range of motion without sort of resistance and fighting itself, and that's very important. So it raises the risk of injury, raises wear and tear on the joint. Here's something that no one really likes to face, a reality that no one really likes to face who exercise a lot. Exercise puts stress on the body. People that lift weights regularly are more susceptible to certain types of arthritis and general wear and tear on the joints. Degenerative joint issues.
And things like that.
And that's a reality, guys. There are so many benefits, and I believe the benefits far outweigh the negatives about lifting weights and being healthy, but and exercising regularly. But the reality is that exercise in all forms puts stress on the body. Now, if you're putting that stress on the body and you've got length tension issues, meaning that you've got tight muscles that are making it really hard for your joints to move through their full range of motion resistance-free, and you're creating a path of resistance there, then you're causing way more, astronomical levels more stress on the joints than someone who's not. And that's really the key. That's the key. And when I say true strength cannot be achieved in the absence of mobility, I'm talking about strength without resistance, without injury, strength that you're going to have for a long time. You know, I've got no interest. As well. I've got no interest in someone who's strong for 10 years and then debilitated for the rest of their life. You know, I love Ronnie Coleman. I think he's an amazing guy, and I think he's amazing for what he did for sport. But if you look at the guy now, that's not strength to me, and I'll probably get slammed for saying that. But if you can't walk later 100%. On in life, I don't believe that that's right, and I don't believe that that's how we should be treating our body. That's just my personal opinion. Look, so that's the key insight. Why don't we talk about the 4 movements and why we've chosen those as our benchmark movements?
Yeah, so the benchmark movements that we teach people to master in the Mobility Masterclass are the front splits, the middle splits, the pancake, and the back bridge. And there's a few reasons for them. Number one, if we talk about the lower body, the 3, you know, you've only really, like, you've got 3 main joints in your lower body. You've got your hips, your knees, and your ankles. The knees certainly are not designed to develop mobility laterally, and they certainly don't rotate either. The only thing the knee does is flexes and extends. It's the only thing it does. And I've rarely met somebody that really needs to develop that much knee extension, right? No. Like, it's just you've just got it. You know, you've got your knee goes where it needs to go.
You don't want knee extension because
it hyperextends. Exactly. So then you've got your ankles and your hips. Your ankles we take care of in other areas, and they do get taken care of through our training. And it is something that a lot of people need a lot of work on. But what most people need work on is their hips. That's something that almost everybody needs. And the hips can only really do so many things as well. The hips can either flex or extend, which is what the front splits is. They can abduct, so they pull out into the middle splits, and they can externally or internally rotate. So by doing the front splits, middle splits, and pancake, we're taking care of the majority of those moves. And when you can achieve those moves, you also take care of the forward pike, which is, you know, just being able to bend forward and touch your toes when you work on the pancake and the front splits. And that allows you to be able to move freely in gymnastics and calisthenics movements when you can do those movements. So that's pretty much the reasons why we do that. And the back bridge, most people, just because the nature of the way of our body, I mean, we do, when you're working on the front splits, you work on forward flexion of the spine, so things like the Jefferson curl, so you develop spine flexion. So the only move that's not really taken care of, the only major movement in the body is back extension, is being able to stretch backwards and being able to take your arms up into full flexion. So by using those 4 movements, you're really covering all the major things that the body needs to be able to do. And of course, you've got lateral torso flexion as well. And that's something that we do as well with our pancake and middle splits training. Can you just
turn it on silent?
Turn it on silent, man. Yeah. So yeah, that's those are the reasons why.
Yeah. And that's really what Rad was saying there. It covers the whole body in the areas that you need it most. And this is I think probably we may as well get onto it. Now, before I do, anyone who is watching live, we love you to tell us where you're watching from, because we kind of like to see where people are tuning in from, where our viewers are coming from. So give us a shout out and tell us where you're watching from if you're watching live.
Just put something in the comments for us.
And we love you long time if you hit that like button, because it really hacks the algorithm and helps us share our message with a wider audience of people. We are getting stomped by mobile devices this morning. Apparently my dad's trying to call me on my phone, and I know why. I forgot to do something. Okay, so let's go into the biggest mistake that people make, and that is that they don't understand how flexibility and mobility should complement their strength training. And so, you know, everything that we just spoke about with our benchmark movements, they're all very complementing to the things that we do in strength, like squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing, handstand press, press to handstand, all of those things, you know. And that's why we focus down on those 4 key movements. it's super important that because you're very you're limited with time. Like none of us, not many of us can spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day training. So you got to choose what you spend and invest your time in wisely, so you get the biggest return on your investment. And that's, I think, one of the key insight. That's one of the key things that you need to make sure.
Yeah.
So
hey, Mark, shout out to you, bro, over in the States.
New Jersey, yeah. I was just trying to... No, but that's Boston. I was watching the UFC last night, and old matey Nate Diaz got up, but he's a Boston boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for
place.
joining us in there. Yeah, that's right. Totally different. So, okay, let's go into the 3 talking points. We've had a couple of questions come in. Portland, Oregon. We got some
boys
US
from the States.
That's awesome.
Cool, awesome.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah. So we're going to talk now about the best frequency of flexibility training. And this is a really good one. We've talked about this a lot, but we're going to talk about it. So what we've spoken about before is that we believe that stretching every day is the best thing to do. And when you define the difference between flexibility and mobility, which I'm not going to go into, but I'll just do a recap. Flexibility is
that's the next point, so we are going to go into
we are going to go into that, okay. So the best frequency of flexibility training, well, why don't we talk quickly then about the difference between mobility and flexibility, because that'll make more sense. So the flexibility training is when you're doing a routine or a session specifically to try to increase your flexibility. It involves multiple sets on the same muscle group. It involves multiple sets on a single exercise. It involves multiple exercises on the same muscle groups or the same movements. And it generally is done to quite a high intensity. When we do our flexibility training, sometimes you even get a little bit out of breath. You definitely work up a sweat from it, and you do feel like you need a bit of a recovery at the end of it. The way we do it with our UMS, our Unified Movement System, is that we stretch between sets of strength training on opposing ends of the body, so lower body stretching for upper body strength training. And whereas mobility is an umbrella term that involves anything that takes your joints through full range of motion. So a squat in itself is a mobility exercise because it takes your body through full range of motion. Hanging is a mobility exercise. So that's the difference between mobility and flexibility. And again, just to sum it up, mobility training can be done very, very quickly. You can do mobility in as little as a minute or so, or 2 minutes. Flexibility.
Dive into a deep squat and sit down there for a bit. And
just for a minute, and that's a bit of mobility training. Even just rotating your spine like this and trying to go as far as you can in each direction is mobility training. Flexibility training is really, you're sitting down, you're doing a workout. So if we talk about
you're not sitting down.
Yeah, well, you're doing a workout. Okay. So the best frequency of flexibility training, now that we understand the difference between the two, there's 2 different ways to look at it. The more you stretch, the more flexibility training you do, the better the results are going to be. And you can even do flexibility training twice a day or 3 times a day even. The more you do it, the better the results you're going to achieve. But if we talk about for these benchmark movements, for the front splits, the middle splits, the pancake and the back bridge, what we've found is that doing them 2 to 3 times a week each delivers the best results. So why 2 to 3 times? Because the workouts that we teach for those 4 movements, the front splits, middle splits, pancake and back bridge, they go for about 40 minutes. If you take your time and diddly around a bit, it can take up to an hour. And if you absolutely hammered it, I don't know that you'd really get it done in less than 40 minutes, but you might get it done in half an hour. So it takes a lot of time. And if you consider that you don't want to just be doing flexibility training, you also want to be doing strength training. You probably want to be doing a bit of cardio training as well. And you probably need to be doing a bit of conditioning on the areas of your body that are running the risk of injury or that are already injured. So when you add all that up and you want to be getting better at all of these movements, you don't want to just do one of them and not do the other ones. It's pretty hard to do them more than 2 or 3 times a week. We've found that you can do 3 times a week on the movements that you want to double down on. Like right now, I'm really trying to get better at the front split, so I'm doing that 3 times a week, and I'm only doing the middle splits a couple of times a week. That's my, in a nutshell, how many times you do flexibility training in a week.
Yeah, I think the key to that and understanding it is that it should, unless you're really unflexible, it should be done as much as you do your strength training.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've got a system in place that combines the two, but that's really if you're you're as flexible as you are strong. If you're someone who is super strong, like I was, and then decides, okay, I need flexibility because I'm hurting myself all the time, then you got to double down on your flexibility for a while and prioritize that, And it's very hard to do because it's an ego thing. You don't want to go backward in one thing to go forward in the other, and it's very hard to move towards something without moving away from something else. So, that's, I think, key, but it's usually short term. Like I went really hard on my flexibility last year and the start of this year, and I'm like more flexible than I've ever been, and now I'm just balancing the two, and it's really nice and it feels good.
Yeah, and I reckon that I think a really good way to define what we mean by doubling down, and by prioritizing flexibility training, we don't say that means that you don't do strength training. Like in the ideal world, we do our strength and flexibility every day, but there are days and weeks and sometimes even months where you really struggle to train every day. And even on the days that you do train, you struggle to train for more than 40 minutes or an hour. Like we all have those times just when work starts getting really busy and you just start getting stressed. And what we mean by prioritizing one over the other is that on those days, you do your flexibility and you wouldn't do your strength training. And that's what Yanni and I both did. We both made that sacrifice where we decided, in our late 30s, we were like, man, it's time to get flexible. Let's make this happen. And that's what we did, and it really worked for us.
Yep. Absolutely, guys. Well, look, let's bring it in for a landing. We've got a big week. We've got a great series ahead of us tomorrow and every other day of the week, whatever comes after tomorrow. We've just done the biggest renovation of the gym. We're absolutely knackered.
We're so tired.
We worked all weekend. We're going to give you guys a sneak peek later on. Well, you'll see it tomorrow because we're going out on the gym
8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday doing hard labour.
Yeah. So this week we've got a whole series of videos coming out, tutorials for each of these benchmark movements, and we're going to be discussing them every day here live on the show. We've got something massive in store for the weekend. Get ready for it.
Yeah, so just to clarify on that, for those of you that have been watching our channel for a while, for a long time now, as longer than I can remember, all we've been doing every day are these daily shows where it's this format and we walk out on the gym floor. The reason why we're not walking out on the gym floor now is because we've doubled down, and what we're now doing with our Canon camera, which is infinitely times better quality, we're also filming shows so that we can release a show each day, Monday to Friday, doing high quality tutorials. Yep. So before we were doing a live show and a tutorial together, and we didn't like that. We wanted to double down. So now you're going to see later on today, there's going to be a video uploaded of a tutorial. Which one are we uploading today?
I don't know. I think it's the back. No, we haven't done the back.
No, it'll be either the front splits, middle splits, or pancake. It'll be one of those three because those are the three that we filmed last week. And so check it out. You guys are going to start seeing double the amount of content from us. The live show is going to be this format, and the tutorials are going to be, well, you'll see.
So get your questions in. Anything to do with mobility. It's all about mobility and flexibility training this week, and we will answer them on tomorrow's show. Until then, we will see you soon.
Have a good one, guys.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.